Okay, so today we will start thermal properties of material. So after mechanical properties, the thermal properties of matter. So matter means solid, liquid and gas. So we'll discuss about thermal properties, and in these thermal properties we have to discuss two parameters, physical parameters. One is heat, this is corresponding to thermal properties, and second one is that is temperature. In our daily life experience, we just take these two, that heat and temperature is analogous, but as far as the physics is concerned, this heat and temperature, these are two different quantities. This is corresponding to, this heat is corresponding to internal energy. This is corresponding to internal energy of that matter, solid, liquid or gas. And this actually gives the sensation of hotness or coldness. So this is actually the internal property of internal energy or internal properties of material. It's corresponding to internal energy, and this gives the sensation of hotness and coldness. Whereas this temperature, this is actually the degree of hotness and coldness. So this temperature is actually more quantitative with compared to that heat. It is related to that internal energy, but this is just the measurement of that the direction of transfer of that internal energy from one point to another point, and this gives the degree of hotness and coldness. Just write down this first, then we will discuss that heat and temperature in detail further. So as far as that structure of that matter is concerned, this is made up of small molecules, small atoms, particles. They are made up of small particles, and we have these materials in three parts. One is solid, and second one is liquid. The state of matter is liquid, and third one is gas. As far as atomic force is concerned, the solid are generally rigid, means in between that atoms, the interatomic attraction force is very strong. So in the case of solid, interatomic force is very strong. So the interatomic force is very strong, and generally we have discussed about that rigid body. It's a rigid one. As far as that motion of these particles inside that rigid body, this is only vibrational motion. Actually, we have three types of motions. First, what we talk about, what we have, that translation motion, in which that atoms, molecules transfer from one place to another place. Second, the types of motion also, right? Types of motion of molecules. So the translation motion. Second is rotational motion. And third one is vibrational motion. So here in this rotational motion, that molecules or atoms can rotate toward the center of any point, and the vibrational motion, that atoms can only vibrate, means there is one to and fro motion from a fixed point, and translation motion, that atoms transit from one place to another place. So that in case of solid, the atoms are binding together very strongly, and only vibrational motion is possible. In the case of solid, only vibrational motion is possible. It can just vibrate when we give energy. So initially, obviously, that will be in equilibrium. when we give energy, it's energy that molecules and atom will try to move from one point to another point by gaining some energy. Then only vibrational motion is possible in case of solid because it's rigid. Interatomic force is very strong. So here that interatomic force is very strong, and only vibrational motion is possible. All these are corresponding to that internal energy. That's why we are discussing this. Second, in the case of this liquid and gas, liquid is volatile, and interatomic force is weaker with compared to that solid. So in this case, in both cases, that rotational as well as translational motion is possible. Vibration is automatically okay. Means all three types of motion is possible in the case of liquid and gas, one can say. So mostly that rotation and translation motion is possible, and I should write all three type of motion I should write. So all three types of motion is possible. Atom can vibrate, atom can rotate, atom can translate from this. Also in the case, this is very its interatomic force is very weak with compared to that liquid and solid. So most of the atoms are just translating from one point to another point. So the abundant motion, that is actually the translation motion, and all type of motion is possible in this case also. So when we give energy to any matter, as a solid, liquid and gas, that energy given is given to that molecules, and that molecules try to perform all these type of motion, either the translational motion, rotational motion, and vibrational motion, and ultimately this is corresponding to kinetic energy of that particular molecule. So when we give energy, it's kinetic energy of that molecules, that atoms, this is changed, and that heat is actually the measurement of that heat is corresponding to. So the heat is corresponding to total kinetic energy of atoms of matter when energy is given, external energy is given. So that heat is actually corresponding to that total kinetic energy. When we give that energy, that atoms may have translation motion, may have rotational motion, vibrational motion, and the total kinetic energy of that system, that is actually the measurement of it. So there is one very minute boundary between temperature and that heat. Remember this. In the first case, it's actually the sensation of hotness and coldness, whereas that temperature is actually the one can say that is that degree of that hotness and coldness, means it's more magnitude to form. Okay, second case, in case of that that internal energy, when we give that energy to the system, it's atom may have different type of motion, and the total kinetic energy of that system, when we give energy, that is actually the heat. Whereas in terms of that temperature, this is not total kinetic energy, but it is actually that and the second, the temperature is corresponding to average kinetic energy. Just there is some minute change in the sentence. Average kinetic energy of the system. This average kinetic energy of the system. So overall internal energy is heat, and the average kinetic energy, that is known as temperature. And one can also write the difference between that heat is heat transfer from one more difference you can write. Heat transfers from high temperature to low temperature. You can write for the heat actually transfer from, is the energy, form of energy, it will transfer from one part to another part. So that heat energy that actually transfer from high temperature end to low temperature end. So this is from high temperature end you should write, and to low temperature end. And in other words, you can say that temperature gives or controls the direction of transfer of heat. So that temperature controls the direction of transfer of heat. First, you can also differentiate in terms of units. This is that the unit will be in terms of energy. So for the unit of the CGS unit of heat is calorie. Calorie is actually CGS unit, and the SI unit is obviously unit of energy, because this is the form of energy, total internal energy. So unit is joule. Here 1 calorie, this is the CGS unit. This is defined as here 1 calorie heat energy is defined as the amount of heat energy required to increase the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree centigrade. So this is that total energy required to rise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree centigrade. And that 1 degree centigrade, this is also specific, not from that 100 degree centigrade to 101 degree centigrade. One range is there, and it's from 14.5 to 15.5 degree centigrade. In this specific temperature, the properties of that water is very good, and we will discuss further what actually happens in this particular temperature. So that for the definition of this calorie, this temperature, this particular region is taken. So when we increase that 1 gram of water, the temperature from 14.5 to 15.5 degrees centigrade, then that total amount of heat required is known as 1 calorie. Okay. Next is that temperature of that unit of temperature. So the unit of temperature, different units depending on types of methods of measurement. Generally we use, that is degree centigrade, that is degree centigrade, Kelvin is not written in degree, it's just Kelvin. Do not use degree Kelvin. Then next one is Fahrenheit. Check the spelling. Fahrenheit, it's a degree Fahrenheit. And one is Reaumur. So these are different units used to measure the temperature. Okay, so as a summary, we can say that that heat is corresponding to energy, and that temperature is one specific quantity which actually gives the direction of transmission of it from one end to another end. This is actually that carrier to transmit that energy from one point to another point. And let's discuss about some more terms in the temperature, the measurement of this temperature. So the scaling of this temperature measurement. Actually, to make one scale, we need 2 points in this. One point is that in order to make scale to measure the temperature, two points are taken. Two limiting points are taken. Limiting points are taken. One is that is initial point, is actually that freezing point, or is freezing point one. Okay. So that freezing or ice point, and the second next end is boiling point, or it's an steaming point. So these are the two boundaries of that scale to measure that temperature. One is that freezing point, and second one is that steaming point or boiling point. For example, when we talk about that centigrade, that the familiar temperature scale, it's starting from that 0 degree centigrade to 100 degree centigrade. Why we take these two temperatures? Because that at 0 degree centigrade, water freezes in form of ice. So that icing point of water is 0 degree centigrade, and that 100 degree centigrade is the boiling point of that water. That's why this scale is taken, and that difference is 1 degree is in between. So we have in a centigrade scale, there are 100 points starting from 0 to 100. 0 degree, 1 degree centigrade, 2 degree centigrade. So depending on these two ends, we have different method of measurement of this temperature. So let's have a table in which we must have that freezing and boiling point of all these scales. Okay, so let's make that table. So first of all, I should write in the first column these scales. So the scales, first centigrade, that will be degree centigrade. Second is Fahrenheit, degree Fahrenheit. Third is Kelvin, remember, that is degree R. And fourth one is Kelvin. This is K. Okay, so that freezing point or ice point. And second, we should write that boiling point or steaming point. So in degree centigrade, yeah, obviously it's 0 and it's 100. In Fahrenheit, it's 32. So right. It's 32 degree, and this is 212 Fahrenheit. Okay, and then remember, this is 0. It's 0 R, and this is 80. And in Kelvin, it's 273 Kelvin, and this is 373 Kelvin. So these are the temperature range in that particular scale. So we must have a relationship between all these depending on this data. So the relation between all these parameters. So what will be that relation? So write the relation between all this. So this is that is starting from C to 0 upon 100. It is equal to F minus 32 by what will be maximum and minimum. This is 212 minus 32. That scale is there. So that difference is 100 minus I2 also is, so this is 0. So this is that scale centigrade, and we are taking that minimum temperature here, and that difference between that maximum and minimum. So this is C minus 0 upon 100, that is the maximum minus 0. This is that centigrade scale. It is corresponding to F minus 32. Here this is 32, and the difference between these two, 212 minus 32, this is equal to R minus 0 by 80 minus 0. Okay, it is equivalent to F minus 273 by 373 minus 273. Sorry, in Kelvin. Actually, this fixed value is 0.15. So if you want to write this Kelvin, so just write 15. So this is 15.15. So this is 373. Okay, so if you remember these parameters, this formula, this is very easy. Okay, so what you have to do, this you have to start from that scale. This is centigrade scale minus that minimum temperature upon this the difference between these two. So in the Fahrenheit scale, this F minus 32 upon this 3212 by 32, and similarly this is 80 minus R minus 0 upon 80 minus 0, and this is in the Kelvin, this is 273 minus this. So what we can write, just C upon 100. So this is C upon 100. It is equal to F minus 32 by how much? This is 180. It is equal to R by 80. It is equivalent to K minus 273.15 by 100. So mutual relation you can draw. You can calculate a particular temperature where that centigrade and Fahrenheit is equal. So calculate the temperature in which FNC scale is identical. Do this. Just to compare this, calculate C and F by taking either C is equivalent to F or F is equivalent to C, and make that calculation. Minus 14 हो जाएगा. Calculate करो. रटा हुआ नहीं. Minus 40. So that minus 40, it is identical. And when we take this is equivalent to equal, and F is either equal to C or C is equivalent to F, then that is equivalent to minus 40. So at minus 40 degree, both scale is identical. Okay, so we have different types of thermometer to measure temperature. That may be solid type thermometers, liquid thermometer, gas type thermometers, and depending on that properties at different temperatures of that material. So before going to the details, we should also know some properties of thermal properties, and we have to use some different laws corresponding to those behavior of that materials. And we have three parameters used in the thermal properties. One is pressure. This is one physical property we will use in this chapter. Second one is temperature, and third one is volume. So when we increase the temperature, when we change that temperature, it's the pressure as well as that volume that may be changed. So we have this a set of these three variables. This is written as PVT. It is thermodynamical parameters corresponding to thermal properties of that materials: pressure, volume, and temperature. So when we change that, when we give that heat energy, when we change the temperature, its pressure as well as its volume is changed. And there is one another term it is used here, that is number of moles. It also number of moles. This is also a term used in this particular. So we have different laws corresponding to correlate this behavior. First one is known as that Boyle's law. Boyle's law. Second one is Charles' law. I think yes, in the chemistry, you know, this Boyle's law, Charles' law. So this is corresponding to that interrelation between these physical parameters. So in the first case, when we have this temperature constant in Boyle's law, when temperature is constant, then this pressure and volume, this is inversely relation. So V is inversely proportional to volume. So if temperature is constant and we increase that pressure, volume may decrease, volume will decrease. Okay, or we just change that volume, we are just changing, we are decreasing that volume, the pressure will increase. So this pressure, it is inversely proportional to volume, and this can be also written as equivalent to PV, it is equivalent to constant. So here the temperature is constant, so that PV, it is the multiplication of this PV, that is actually constant. And this PV is actually related to energy. If you know that work power energy chapter, then P multiplied by V is corresponding to energy. So temperature is constant, internal energy is constant. That's why this PV is constant. So this PV, this is Boyle's law. PV is equivalent constant is Boyle's law. Second, in the Charles' law, what we will use here, when volume is constant, then what will happen? P is directly proportional to temperature. So when volume is constant, volume or pressure. So when pressure is constant, and pressure is constant, then V is, volume is directly proportional to temperature. So P is V, it is directly proportional to temperature, or V, it is equivalent to a constant multiplied by temperature, or V by T, this is a constant. So here this P is inversely proportional to V. Here that volume is directly proportional to T. So V by T is equivalent to constant, and when we combine these two relations, so we have a general ideal gas equation. So by combining these two, this PV by T, it is taken as constant. This is taken as constant, and so this PV, it is equivalent to this constant is taken as R. So this PV by T, it is taken as R. R is universal gas constant, and this PV, it is equivalent to RT, where R is universal gas constant, and here in general form, in more general form, it is written as equal to PV, it is equivalent to nRT or mu RT, depending on different books, where N is number of moles. Okay, so we have three parameters: pressure, volume, and temperature. They are thermodynamical or thermal parameters used in this particular chapter, and these are some relations among all these parameters. So individually, that pressure and temperature, pressure and volume, temperature and volume, all these are correlated. And finally, we can write this standard ideal gas law, and this in this case that PV is equivalent to RT, and we have used this relation several times. And when we further discuss about the properties of gas, and in the last class also, I think in mechanical properties of matter, we have taken this in two processes, that isothermal process and adiabatic process. So we have the different form of this equation, but the general form of this equation is PV is equivalent to nRT. Okay, so try to solve some numerical problems by using all these, only just related to the conversion of one form of conversion of temperature from one scale to another scale. This is important. And second, some problems related to this PV is equivalent to nRT or mu RT. Okay, so I think it's sufficient for today's lecture. So in the next lectures, we will discuss about the expansion of materials. Okay, thank you.